Hi, my name is Vance Rains. I'm the lead pastor at the First United Methodist Church of Orlando. Welcome to a midweek video devotion for Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. Do you ever feel disappointment with God? You ever feel disappointed with your faith? Do you ever feel disappointed with the church? And those are different things. You can be disappointed with the church and not necessarily disappointed with God, or I suppose the opposite. You could be disappointed with God and happy with the church. I don't know. But sometimes there's a disappointment with life, and the role of faith in it. I think, it's been a tough season here lately. Obviously, the pandemic, I think, has impacted all of us, whether we've gotten sick or not. In so many ways, it's touched every aspect of our life. The news seems like it's just been terrible for such a long time. The recent reports of the storms hitting the North Gulf Coast, the New England, the fires, the events recently in Haiti and Afghanistan. You watch that stuff on the news, it just seems terrible. The political divide in our country, and the revelation that there's a lot of people that just see the world incredibly different than I do, and we don't seem to have a way to come together. Recent decisions in Texas about abortion, recent votes that are restricting the voting rights of African American people, the realization that we still are living in a highly, deeply divided, unjust society when it comes to people of color and them having fair and equal justice. Global warming and the conversation of things are rapidly getting worse. And then, of course, there's just our own personal lives, people we know that are hurting, that are suffering, loss of jobs, marriages coming apart, kids that are struggling in school, right? It can all add up, and it can just lead to a feeling of disappointment. Life's supposed to be better than this. What's going on? Who's in charge? Is there anybody in charge? As I was thinking about this, I was reminded of an old book by Philip Yancey called Disappointment with God. In it, he writes, I found that petty disappointments tend to accumulate over time, undermining my faith with a lava flow of doubt. I start to wonder whether God cares about everyday details, about me. I'm tempted to pray less often, having concluded in advance that it just won't matter. Or will it? My emotions, my faith waver. Once those doubts seep in, I'm even less prepared for times of major crisis. But even as I pray, I wonder, can God be trusted? If so many small prayers go unanswered, what about big ones? And just this also. He says, too often, first comes disappointment, then a seed of doubt, then a response of anger or betrayal. We begin to question whether God is trustworthy, whether we can really stake our lives on Him. I wonder, if you come to my church or a lot of other churches, you'll see that recovery from the pandemic has been really slow. That people aren't attending like they used to, they're not involved like they used to, that folks seem to be backing off. And I wonder if some of that is that life has just been disappointing and we don't know how to deal with that spiritually. And I guess what I want to say to you today is that maybe it's time for us to explore and recover the lost art of lamentation, lament. If you ever go into the Old Testament, there's a whole book of lamentation. Isn't that interesting? If you read the Psalms, lots of the Psalms are lamenting. It's reaching out to God and complaining and saying, I don't think this is right, and what are you going to do about it? And why is this taking so long? And how long do we have to wait on you, God, to do something? And when are you going to make all this right? And that's lamentation. Lamentation is kind of accusatory. It's kind of balling up a fist and yelling, and God saying, like, God, it's not fair. The world's not fair. Why won't you do something? The gift, I think, of lamentation isn't that it gives us answers. It isn't that it makes us feel better even. But I think sometimes when we get frustrated with God, disappointed with God, angry at God, bitter toward God, it causes most of us to kind of push away, to kind of back off, right? If I'm angry at a person, I tend to avoid them, right? If I'm frustrated with a situation, I tend to avoid it. That's what I do. I think we do that with God. And so lamentation is the invitation is not let your disappointment with God push you away from God. Lamentation is your opportunity to tell God you're disappointed. If you're angry, don't let that anger push you away from God. Be angry at God, and God can take it. I think that's the gift of lamentation, that God wants to hear from us, both on the days that we're full of praise and thanksgiving, but also on the days that we are hurting and struggling and, frankly, blaming God for it. Life's been hard, harder than most of us ever expected it to be. Maybe we're feeling like this just isn't fair, and things are too messed up. I thought the world was supposed to be getting better. I thought thought the people who believed in God were going to get better things than this. We might feel that way sometimes. The invitation is to bring your disappointment to God, not let it turn you away. So look up lament. Take a look at that. See what that's all about. And maybe today you might want to just spend a few minutes with God, lamenting and being honest. God can take it. God cares.